Okay, so I've just been flipping the channels and came across CNN commentary with only a few days ago before the election. So far, I've resisted commenting in great detail about my own views on what I want the outcome to be and so on, because I think that could be a detraction from the central focus of these videos. I might do that at some point, but not just yet. Um, yeah, so anyway, in this commentary on CNN, there was four women and one guy. I'm not sure if they were regular contributors or who exactly were, but let's just say pundits, people who are paid to talk about politics and pontificate about politics. I'm saying that in a slightly dismissive way because I do get a little tired of. I do feel there is this culture, both on Fox News and CNN, where journalists kind of love the sound of their own voice, and it's a big, big part of the focus rather than just reporting the news. It becomes these segments become quite a big focus of it, and I'm not a huge fan of that because the media is massively influential, and these people are in a very privileged position, being able to sit there and basically say what they want and pontificate in that sort of way. Anyway, they were discussing Donald Trump, and apparently he was addressing veterans in North Carolina. Veterans apparently is one of his strong bases. Anyway, he spoke about Hillary Clinton, of course, and he said she is not fit to be commander in chief, or uh, she will not put your interests at heart. He was attacking Hillary, and he used the pronoun she. Might have been her. I don't know what the exact sentence was, but the point is, it was a simple use of the pronoun in the sentence. Now, immediately, the commentators said to the guy who was there, and I don't know if he was a military man or something, but they were sort of questioning this and said, "Is that sexist?" And it wasn't so much a question as a statement. They're basically saying, "We think it is sexist, and we want you to agree with us." Then the guy sort of did. Well, what he was getting at is Trump shouldn't assume that he can read veterans' minds, which was a fair point, but this has been a tendency of left wing media, especially on CNN, and it gets very, very tiresome. But to be honest, it's just reflective of, frankly, wider feminism. That is to say, that to them, everything is sexist. So if you have a male candidate, and quite frankly, the fact that it's a controversial candidate is beside the point, because if this was any male candidate, they would be saying the same thing. That's how feminist minds work. Everything is sexist. So if you have a man and a woman debating in a political context, I remember at the time when Joe Biden was debating Sarah Palin, the media hacks were all saying, "Oh, Biden has to be polite because she's a woman," and so on, as if she should get special treatment. If you believe in equality, then rigorous debate is rigorous debate across the board, and that doesn't mean it should descend into name calling. But I don't see why a woman politician shouldn't face tough questions and shouldn't face being put on the spot by her opponent. This idea that if a male opponent asks tough questions, he's bullying her. Well, then my response is, if she can't handle that sort of pressure, why is it an issue? I don't think that's the case with Hillary Clinton. I think Hillary Clinton is tough. I think she can handle it. But there have been cases in the UK. Emily Thornberry, who's a senior member of the Labour Party, actually had the audacity to whinge that a male reporter was asking a sexist question, because he asked her to name foreign heads of state. Now, this is absurd. She was Shadow Foreign Secretary, I believe, at the time. It seemed like a completely appropriate and reasonable question. And of course, she got into the whole sexism thing. Oh, he wouldn't be asking me that if I was a man. Firstly, that's not factually true because male politicians are asked tough questions all the time. All I want to say is that feminists need to stop finding sexism in every little innuendo, every little thing. I'm not saying that sexist language doesn't exist, and Trump certainly has a track record of saying pretty disgraceful things. We all know about that Access Hollywood video. We know about his track record. So I've no intention here of defending Donald Trump's rhetoric. But all I'm saying is that is not a good example of so-called sexism. It's not sexism. Simply using the pronoun of her or she in that context is not sexist. You could disagree with what he's saying, but it's no more sexist than Hillary using him when she's talking about Donald. It just gets very boring, and I don't think it contributes to anything to debate. Um, where there is sexism, of course, it should be called out, and of course, it should be challenged. But I just get fed up with feminists finding sexism in every little thing. That's why it's so difficult, especially for male politicians or campaigners, to talk about these things. But for any guy, frankly, um, because feminists have this pathetic way of getting into this victimhood mentality whereby if you disagree with them, oh, it's because I'm a woman. No, it's because I disagree with you. It's something they can't seem to grasp. In this sort of mentality, everything is about gender. Everything is about, oh, it's because I'm a woman. No, it's not. So I would say to feminists, just stop going around with a chip on your shoulder and thinking that every little thing is a personal attack or an attack because you're a woman. That is not it. It may well be that a man simply disagrees with what you're saying. Um, and that's not to say that there isn't sexist language, but this is just it gets CNN has been getting right on my nerves in this election with the not only their bias but their so-called progressive attitudes on these sort of things, i.e., people, they have been absolutely pandering to the Clinton campaign because she's a woman and because CNN sees itself as ideologically progressive. So they've made it absolutely clear the people at the top of CNN want Hillary to win. They have been embroiled in scandals in recent weeks in terms of their bias, and usually I would say Fox is very biased, and I think it is. I think Fox has traditionally had a very strong Republican bias, conservative bias. I think it still does. But Fox hasn't been pushing for Trump in the same way that CNN has been pushing for Clinton, and that's obvious. Um, I'm just get so fed up with feminists making every single thing about sexism. Give me a break. If your entire argument comes down to constantly getting into this defensive posture, then you've got no argument. Actually, I think one reason Hillary is a strong candidate in terms of being tough is that Hillary herself doesn't actually claim this all the time. Um, it's more some of her feminist supporters that do, and it just gets very tiring.